This time on 4x4 Garage, we're back at Woods Off-Road. We're continuing work on the F350 tow rig project, and we're getting deeper into the S120 International. It's been a while since you've seen these axles, but we've been here every day working on them. Come a long way. We got the Sterling 10.5 up here on the bench, the Dana 60 fronts over there on the floor waiting on a couple last parts. Johnny's got the Artec Apex truss on this thing, and he knows the trick to make sure welding steel to cast, you don't get cracks and failed welds. So what did you do?
Preheat is very important, so 400 to 450 degrees. And then as you're welding, I just stitch welded about 2 inches, peen it. So what that means is you slap it with a hammer, it disturbs the molecules in the cast, and then, continue. And post heat is important. And then when you're done with that, you just wrap it up in a blanket and put her to bed. Slow the cooling process down because the dissimilar metals will cool at a different rate and it will try to pull the weld apart. And then after that, all I did was tack this up and get it ready to put under the chassis. I also used a truing bar in the axles and made sure that your tubes were straight. Your front was definitely bent when we got it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we went ahead and did that.
You did a little bit of heat, a little bit of pressure, and now it's all straight, ready to go. Johnny got some 488 gear set up on this Eaton Detroit locker. I'm running Detroit's front and rear. Good, super durable, brainless traction, just point and shoot. So while Johnny was setting up the gears, I brought the frame in, and I've been cutting off some brackets over here on it. Use the plasma cutter to torch off some stuff that we're not gonna need. This is a 2007 JK Unlimited chassis I bought from a wrecking yard, and it's actually straight and in pretty good shape. We're almost ready to start assembling the Skyjacker long arm suspension on this thing.
It was involved in a vehicle fire.
We won't look at that too hard. I'm gonna scrape all this down and then hit it with some WD-40 Specialist corrosion inhibitor, and then when we get ready to, we can give it a good paint. Then over here, we've got more drivetrain parts that we brought in. We're getting ready to go together. This is a 5.7 Hemi. It's a remanufactured long block. And so because it's a long block and because we're not starting with an existing engine, we had to kind of piece together all this stuff. And so we've got just a wall of Duralast parts back there. We kind of inventoried and putting together.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this one. So I haven't personally done a Hemi-Swap yet. I've done a plethora of LS stuff, and it's more common. It's a little bit easier because the aftermarket supports it. I'm excited to get this one done.
Should be 350 to 400 horse, somewhere in there, around the same for torque. So good bread and butter V8.
And then there was a trick to putting the Monster NV4500 behind this motor, and you were saying that there's a very specific bell housing?
Yeah, most of the NV4500 bell housings you'll find are for a V10 gas or a Cummins 6-cylinder application. They did put these behind a factory 5.2 or 5.9 and even some Hemis. So the trick is to find that factory bell housing. They used to be easier to get a hold of. We found one on eBay, so we wound up buying it. When that arrives, we'll finish getting the NV4500 mounted to the back of this thing. I stole this out of one of our old Ultimate Adventure rigs from 2013, the UA Super Dirty. And so it's a Ford MP205 and an off-road design Magnum box. Because this thing was set up to mate to the Ford diesel automatic transmission, I had to pull the front of the case off. That's with off-road design now, and they're gonna redo the front of this to mate to the 29 spline NV4500. So when that gets here, we'll get the drivetrain all assembled. But in the meantime, Johnny's gonna keep poking along on the axles, and I'm gonna get to putting the Skyjacker suspension on that frame. One of the early plans for this build was to actually use my personal vehicle, which is an 04 Dodge Durango. It had some issues, it was electronically glitchy, and I was just having a hard time fixing it. Before we decided to pull the body off that chassis and drop the S120 on it, which was plan A, we figured, well, let's let Johnny give the mechanicals a look over and make sure everything's good to go. And when I had it in here, he's like, dude, you really want to cut this up? I can fix it. And so I was like, well, okay. So all this is actually plan B. And when the Durango went out the window as being the donor vehicle for this, I needed a frame. The S120 frame, by the time I was done boxing it and custom fabricating to get the suspension I wanted and the axles and the engine and everything else under that vehicle, I would have been just time and money out the window compared to going and getting a known quantity for me, which is a JK frame. My CJ6 from Ultimate Adventure way back in 2017 and 2023 that I drove on that event runs a JK frame, and the best part about that is you can use a bunch of off-the-shelf aftermarket parts. So the suspension on this and off-the-shelf Skyjacker unit will be having off-the-shelf steering. Most of the stuff just bolts on with little or no fabrication. We can use a lot of stuff simplified, and that saves us time and ultimately saves us money. That's good.
So American Iron hooked Christian up with a set of ball joint eliminators. Now what these do is it gets rid of the traditional ball joint and it turns it into like a kingpin style. So the Super Duty axles 05 and up, as far as rock crawling goes, they're known to be sort of weak, the factory ball joints are. So instead of replacing them with a weak part or risking ripping your entire knuckle off the trail, which many have done, you get this nice nifty piece right here and it turns it into a sort of kingpin. Now you can get these in weld on or bolt on. I've not seen advantage over one or the other, but if you guys are interested in some ball joint eliminators for your project, check out American Iron. Typically when you do custom stuff like this, you need to make sure you have the correct tools in your car in your repair box. So Christian will now have to carry a 3/4.
I'll just take this one. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
3/4 Allen. So I was trying to figure out how to repair the rollover valve on this JK gas tank because they're prone to cracking. Like you can't buy this part, like nobody makes a repair for it. You have to buy the entire tank. So instead of doing that, I was sitting there staring at it, figured out how it functioned, and I was like, okay, well, if I just make a new top for this, then we can use this existing tank and we can save a bunch of money. I was thinking about making it out of aluminum so that I can TIG it. However, my plasma table does not cut aluminum very well and it makes a mess. So because the ring, the bottom ring is so small and there's not really a whole lot of room for error, we have the opportunity to use this company called Send Cut Send. What I'll do is I'll draw it up in my CAD, I'll save it as a DXF file, and then we'll email it to them. They'll cut the part and they'll send it back to us. And then that way the cut's a lot cleaner, everything's a little bit more precise than what I can do on my plasma table. And then we'll go from there.
Clutch stomp! Clutch stomp! Dude, don't break it.
Yeah, you just leave the foot, the right skinny pedal to the floor and let it bounce to the rev limiter until you can get it into the next gear. If for some reason it sounds like metal teeth going away, pick a different gear.
Or bigger parts. Now that we're going strong on the S120, let's take a look back at the suspension and other things we did underside on the F350. So we've got a 6-inch super lift suspension to go on this thing. It's going to use lift blocks in the back, but the front we're going to eliminate the radius arms for a 4-link, put some 6-inch coils and some really nice Bilstein shocks in here.
One of the things on the truck that has been bothering me is how it handles on the highway when I'm towing. You know, I have truck and trailer, and there'll be big bumps in our beautiful infrastructure on the roads. And literally the truck, like before the shocks, these newer Fox shocks I put on, the truck would jump like half to one lane, and it was scary. Like if anybody would be next to me, I would have wiped them out. So fortunately, like the 4 or 5 times I did that with the stock shocks, I put these Foxes on, and that helps with that. But the shocks weren't sized right. They're for a 0 to 2 inch lift. The truck has 0 inches of lift. So then the front suspension would bottom out. So it was just a terrible ride then afterwards when hitting the hard stuff. So I'm hoping this new super lift solved both my problems with the lane jumping and the ride quality.
So now we're working on the front suspension. We're gonna get this all blown apart, take off what we need to, and then get the super lift stuff installed. We got the radius arm out of here. We're putting the Superlift drop bracket on here. And then we've got the 4-link arms. We're gonna put an upper and lower in on this side. And then once it's in and secure, we'll do the other side. We only want to do one side at a time because we don't want the axle to just fall out of the vehicle. Oh yeah. You're gonna want this unless you like a lot of clunking.
I do not like a lot of clunking.
There we go.
That's what my internationals are for.
Yeah.
Let me know when the springs get tight.
I mean, I'm tight over here.
I got a little more to go. Okay. We got a Superlift bracket here to drop the track bar, the corresponding amount to the lift. So that maintains your geometry and prevents bump steer. There we go.
All right, so I'm back here. We're gonna mount some Firestone airbags. I'm gonna fabricate a mount that will support the airbag onto the new Superlift blocks that we've put on. He tows a lot, so it's definitely gonna need airbags. All right, I'm done welding this. Airbag's gonna sit here, leaf spring right here. I'm gonna prep it for paint, get it painted, get back on the car, and do the other side.
Real Truck sent us a Viair air compressor system. This particular one's the dual 485 high performance one. Goes up 200 PSI, 3.92 CFM out of it, which is awesome. Because when I show up to some of these recoveries, like to buy an old IH, you know, it's almost inevitable it has flat tires. So the faster I can get the tires aired up and like more volume, I have a better chance of getting that vehicle on the trailer real easy. Johnny made this awesome bracket that bolts right up to the Super Duty frame, and then get it wired up and see how it goes. All right, so we've got Milestar Patagonia XT tires. They're really good on the highway, but also in the snow and rain. That should be perfect for everything I'm gonna be using the Super Duty with. We've got on some Raceline wheels. They're awesome wheels. I love the look of it. I think it's perfect for the Ford. It won't look like a grandpa truck anymore. No offense to you grandpas.
My Durango is powered by a 5.7 Hemi, and that kind of got the ball rolling towards the power plant for this project. So when it came time to get an engine, I didn't have one, but I knew, as always, we could go to AutoZone Pro, log in, and I spec'd out an 07 Hemi. So got that down here. All the Duralast stuff we needed came from our local AutoZone as well. A few other odds and ends here and there, and Corey's gonna get it all assembled.
I will say, along the way, as we opened up this engine in the valley, there was like a torque sheet here. It tells you everything you need to do to get this thing ready so as you don't void warranty, but also basic things to check out on your harmonic balancer here, your intake bolt, torque installation, oil pan, exhaust manifold, and the oil filter, and some starting procedures of how to put it on, fill it up, do what you're gonna do, which is quite nice because we're not sitting here looking around, typing on the computer, looking for torque specs. Christian brings up a good point. Don't play with this butterfly. There's a stepper motor and a gear train in here, and everything's meshed and working right. This is your throttle position sensors, or your pedal position is down in the pedal. This is your APP, accelerator pedal position. But inside here is a little stepper motor, and it's doing things, and you do not want to uncalibrate it, bend anything, hurt any of the gears, get it offset. You just want to be nice to this thing. Be very, very nice. Also, be careful cleaning them. There's a certain way. Look it up. There we go. All right, so we're gonna put in the thermostat right now. This is, I like the way that Mopar did this with the seal integrated into it. But if you look back in here, there's a little hole drilled and a little kind of valve back here. And that's so that air can get out of the system and fluid can transfer, so you don't get an air pocket buildup in here. Anytime you're putting this in the motor, you wanna make sure that's up top. So in this case, we're gonna put it in here, make sure that it's facing upward. We just want to make sure that the air can escape through there, especially when you're bleeding the cooling system. So there's a process for every engine, every car, on how to bleed the cooling system. I prefer to vacuum bleed these, but there is a definite benefit to having that through there, so you don't trap any air in the lower portion of the motor.
So that's gonna go there. All right, and then we need AC. So I'm actually not gonna use this pump. This is a factory pump. I'm gonna call it PSC and get their high performance pump, and it's going to run a ram assist. And it's also gonna have a PSC remote reservoir, higher capacity to support the increased pump volume and output and the ram volume. This will help us mock up kind of the pulley arrangement and stuff, but we're almost there.
Hey, we already have the engine cover on.
I know, right? It must be done.
My job here is done.
Awesome. Thanks for all the hard work, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear this thing run.
Okay, well, we've been working away at Woods Off-Road. It's actually just a couple miles over the hill here. Corey at Holmes Fabrication was nice enough to let me keep the body here, but we got to a point with the chassis build. We've got the axles under it, and then to kind of figure out where exactly we want to position the engine, we need the body. So it's time to actually get this over to Johnny's shop and start messing around, getting this thing positioned where we want it on the JK frame. So we're gonna hook up this trailer here, tow it over with the Durango that almost became the donor vehicle for this project, and I think it's fitting. Now that the S120 body's here at the shop, we've got a lot of work to do and not much time to get it done. We're gonna start getting the drivetrain together, sling it in the chassis, position the cab on. Lots of other stuff's gonna be happening, so stay tuned.
I'm gonna get tetanus.
I lost the horn button, I'm bummed.
Oh no, it's okay.
Is it in there?
Ask Jeff for one. Yes.
Oh, good. All right. Because it's IH.
Yes.
Here, I'm going to put that safe where it goes. I realized when I was taking this thing apart, I had taken the horn button off and didn't put it back. And so I had visions of it bouncing down the highway somewhere. But it's still here. It's got the IH logo in there. So I'm going to put it in a safe place so it's still there when we get to building the interior. Are you really staying in there?
No.
Okay.
It's not legal.
I know.
My back. There we go. It's way worse than I thought it was going to be. The interior is non-existent, and
this will stay here.
Needs a floor.
And then these will move up to the top of the body and then cut whatever.
Needs a lot of stuff.
There's an extra.
It'll be fine. We only have like 6 weeks to finish this. It'll be fine.